Good evening to everyone and welcome to the week 11 of problem solving session which is being conducted for the course Earthquake Geology, a tool for seismic hazard assessment. And here I am Anjali Dikshit. So, in this week session we will mainly see 4 problems through which. So, let us begin with the first question that I have taken for this week session is during the stream capture, the diversion of flow into new channel may leave a dash along a ridge. So, now we have to first identify what is the stream capture and what are the meanings of these 4 questions that have been given in this question, like terraces, wind gap, fault scarp and channel offset. Okay. And I believe that most of them we have already covered, or most of them are very easy to understand. For example, channel offset. So, we have already discussed that this channel offset phenomena happen when there is a lateral fault is present in that area, through which river might change its course of path or course of flow. So, this is a channel offset, and this fault scarp we already know, and this terraces and wind gap, and among that wind gap we have already discussed, but let us discuss it more. And before discussing about it, first let us understand what is the stream capture. So, to understand it, so there are another synonyms for this stream capture, that is it also called as a river capture, river piracy or stream piracy. So, is a geomorphical phenomena occurring when a stream is diverted from its own bed or stream changes its path due to some acting force. And what are these acting force? That includes tectonic forces which changes the slope of land and stream is tipped out of its formal course. Second is the natural damming like landslide or ice sheet, and the third one is the erosion. So, due to these 3 major forces or the processes, rivers changes its own bed and try to flow to the neighboring bed. Through this first figure that I have taken from the Wikipedia, we can understand this phenomena that I have mentioned is that earlier the river flow was like this, moving in a straight line, almost a straight path, but due to these activity or this kind of phenomena was majorly happened due to the erosion. So, due to the erosion now the path has changed and now it's shifted to the neighboring bed. Similarly, this is also an example of a wind gap that we have already discussed. So, just to give you a brief or a recap. So, this phenomena was again happened due to the erosion. So, what happens, like earlier the flow of the river were like this, and now due to some activity this ridge kind of feature has formed in the river path. So, what river did like from its inherent tendency, it is to cut through that and follow the path or follow the gradient path from the high gradient to low gradient. This is how water flow, right, we all know that. So, this is the same thing is happening. So, to follow the gradient or the slope of this land area, it has to cut this ridge, though it takes lots of years to cut it, but yeah, at the end we got this cut it ridge, and this the space or this void that has created due to the erosion or due to the river working, we call it as a wind gap. So, to answer the questions that we were trying to look for is the wind gap, because it may leave a dash, that is a wind gap, along a ridge. So, here you see that you have already seen that this is the ridge sorry, this is the uplifted ridge. Now it has cut that ridge and passes along the ridge. So what kind of geomorphical feature has formed over here is the wind gap. So the answer is wind gap. Now moving forward, let's see our second question, which is a dash stream that develops later on, carving the softer rock and flows at most right angle to the original slope of the land. Okay. So what options we have for this question is the subsequent, consequent, and antecedent and superposed, or it should be it should be superimposed. Okay. So now let's understand what are meaning of these words, and then I think you all can answer this question very well after knowing the meaning of each and every term. So what is consequent stream? Consequent means that they are consenting with, or they are consequent with the regional slope of the area. So consequent streams are the streams whose course is directly consequence of the original slope of the surface upon which it has developed. So this is the figure through which we can understand the consequent stream, and here we can see that a stream is following the regional slope of this area. So this is how the stream is following. So this is how the flow will be for this particular location. So this consequent follows the regional. In short, we can summarize it like that, that this consequent streams follow the regional slope of the rock. Okay. On contrary to consequent, we have another category called subsequent streams. So these are the streams whose course has been determined by the selective headward erosion along weak strata. These streams have generally developed after the origin of the original stream. So you can see that these streams has eroded. Suppose this was the harder rock, the below one, which is indicating by blue color, but above that we have two softer rock strata. So since it is a softer strata, so what river did, it eroded that rock and created a valley structure, or the depression, or the syncline structure. And since it has a depression, so river will have a tendency to follow this kind of path. But always remember that this subsequent stream has formed after okay. So remember that these subsequent streams has formed after the main stream, or the main stream could be the consequent stream. Now moving to the third and fourth options that we had for that question is the antecedent and superimposed streams. So what is antecedent streams? So these are the streams that maintains its original course and pattern despite the changes in the underlying rock topography, and as the uplift occurs, the stream erodes through the rising ridge to form a wind gap. So we have already seen that how wind gap has formed. So the if a question comes like through which kind of streams this wind gap has formed, so the answer would be antecedent stream. So remember that it cut through the uplifted area that could be happened due to some tectonic activity. So they have a tendency to cut through that uplifted area and follow the slope, like lower slope area. Now the final category that we have is the superimposed streams. So these are the streams that form over horizontal beds that overlie folded and folded or folded rock with varying resistance. Okay, and having cut down through the horizontal beds, the stream retains its course and pattern as it proceeds to erode the underlying rocks. So, that is the superimposed category, that they cut through the fault or fold if present in their path, and they continue to maintaining their original path that they had. I hope it's understand to all of you till now. Now, moving forward, let's move to the third question, which is a very interesting one, I would say, because this topic we will be discussing first, we will be discussing first time, and you might it interesting. So, mountain front sinuosity ratio approaching dash are considered to be the most dash. Now, what the options we have for this question is 0 inactive, 0 active, 1 active and 1 inactive. So, to address this question, first we should know what is the mountain front sinuosity ratio. And before even going to the ratio, we first understand what is the mountain front sinuosity and what is the importance of this mountain front sinuosity, and what here it means by active or inactive, like in what terms we are categorizing it into active and inactive category. So, let us understand the mountain front sinuosity first. So, it is generally denoted by S, or people use abbreviation like SMF. So, S for the sinuosity, and this subscript MF represent mountain front, but in this session I will be using S. So, S is an index that reflect the balance between two forces, and what are these two forces? Is the erosional forces and the tectonic forces, coincident with an active range bounding fault at the mountain front. Now, you may ask that what is the mountain front? So, a mountain front is a topographic transition zone between the mountains and the plains, with landscape assemblage include the escarpment. So, there are a very high probability that when this transition zones comes between the mountainous region and the planar region, you find morphology like escarpment. So, to summarize about the mountain front sinuosity, so it is the balance between the erosional forces and the tectonic forces, and to measure these forces we have one index that we call the mountain front sinuosity index, which also represented by S or SMF. So, how do we calculate this ratio? Is that its ratio between the observed length along the margin of the mountain pediment junction to the overall straight length, that is LMF, because it is measuring the mountain front length, and LS because it's measuring the straight length. Now, let's see what are this LMF and LS looks like in the geological scenario. So, I just zoomed it. Okay. So, here if I talk about LMF first, that measure the mountain front length. So, this is how we measure the LM. So, this is the actual length, and these eroded feature you can see or this erratic line or sinusoidal line has been created due to the erosional forces. So, that is how we incorporate the factor of erosional forces into the calculation of S index. Now, again what we have is the LS, that is the total straight line total length of this mountain front. Okay. Now you may ask that how this LS is incorporating the factor of tectonic forces. So here the from tectonic forces we meant that in this kind of setup generally we see that there would be an active range bounding fault that I have mentioned over here as well. So here at this front or at this mountain front there is a very high probability that you will find the fault plane. And so what we are trying to do, with this LS we are trying to incorporate the length of the fault plane through which we can incorporate the factor of tectonic activity. Okay, so we have hi Akshay, we were discussing about hello. Yeah, okay. So I was discussing about the mountain front sinuosity. So just to give you a brief, it's a balance between the erosional forces and the tectonic forces, and which coincident with an active range bounding fault at the mountain front. Now you may ask that what is the mountain front? So a mountain front is a topographic transition zone between mountains and the plains with landscape assemblages including the escarpment. Okay. So what, like mathematically we can define that ratio with S or SMF, which wherein MF is in the subscript. So it is a ratio of LMF divided by LS. So this LMF denotes the observed length along the margin of the mountain pediment junction, and this LS denotes the overall straight length. So if we will see the same two parameters into the geological setup, so this is how they looks like. Suppose this is the mountain range denoted by the blue color, and then we have this planar region. So this LMF would be this actual length of this mountain range which is present at the mountain front. Mountain front means where we see the transition between the mountain and the land area or the plain area. So this is the LMF, and LS is the total straight length of this mountain front. Now seeing the same scenario into the actual image that is a dam model. So this is the LMF that I am marking with my marker. So this will be the total length of the LMF. So you can see that this is a very irregular shape. So one may ask that why there is this much irregularity, and how we are why we are using this LMF. So as I mentioned earlier that this mountain front sinuosity is the ratio of or it's a balance between erosional forces and the tectonic forces. So by measuring this LMF we are trying to incorporate the erosional forces, because this type of irregular length or irregular line must have been created by the erosional forces. Now moving to the second parameter that we have in this index is the LS, which is a very straightforward to calculate, as it is a straight line, total straight line that we denote with the LS. Through this straight line, since it is a very common phenomena that in generally like along the mountain front we found fault areas or the fault plains. So through this LS we are trying to bring that fault plane factor or the tectonic force factor in the calculation of mountain front sinuosity. Okay. So, so this is the definition of mountain front sinuosity. Now, let us understand its importance, or the what is the importance of calculating this particular index. So, if you have calculated this index and your values is coming around between 1 to 1.6, then you can say that your area has active mountain fronts, or it is active. But if you have a values of SMF or S ranging from 1.4 to 3, you can say that the activity in that particular area is less, or it is less active. And if your value is even greater than 3, then you can say that it is a completely inactive area, or no tectonic activity has happened in this area. So, this is how we calculate the mountain front sinuosity. So, going back to the question that we were trying to answer. So, what they were asking, that mountain front sinuosity ratio or mountain front sinuosity index approaching dash are considered to be most. So, we have already seen that for it has to be inactive, SMF should be greater than 3. So, definitely it is not inactive. So, we can eliminate the options related to inactive, and for it has to be active, this value should range from starting from 1 to 1.6. So, I think the given answer could be 1, and it should be active. And here they have not mentioned about the less active, but yeah, since I have discussed, so you can remember this thing, that for it has to be less active, this value should range from it should be ranging from 1.4 to 3. So, this condition for inactive sinuosity index, this condition for active, and this condition is for less active. Okay. So, this is how you can answer questions related to mountain front sinuosity index. I hope it is clear. If not, you can ask right away, otherwise we will move forward. Okay. Okay, so moving forward. Now, this is the last question for this session. So, the question says that a dash are the triangular to polyhedral shaped hill slopes that lies between two adjacent drainages along the mountain front escarpment. So, now we have already understood that what is the mountain front escarpment or mountain front, because escarpment is a part of it, and generally we find escarpment along with the mountain front. So, the options that we have is the facets, fault scarp, valleys, and alluvial fens. So, in the previous sessions we have already discussed what are the alluvial fens, what are the valleys, what are the fault scarp. A fault scarp just nothing is the geomorphical feature or the land feature that you can see on the surface. Yeah, that is the fault scarp. And the facets. So, this facets term we haven't discussed so far. So, let us understand what is this facets first. So, first let us understand through the figure, then we will move to the main key points related to this facets. So here you can see this is the fault plane. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier as well, that whenever you encounter the transition between the mountain to the planar region, and here is your mountain front that we can say, and that I was discussing in the previous question. So this is the mountain front. Okay. And here is the fault. So as I mentioned this thing also earlier, that along there is a higher chance, or in general along the mountain front we find fault plains. So if we'll try to see what kind of fault it is, so I'll again show you that how we can identify it. So this is the fault plane, so we'll draw a perpendicular along it. So the line which is going upward direction would be my hanging wall, and I am marking hanging wall with H, and the line that is going downward would be my footwall, which I am marking with F. So here what is happening, this upper block is going down, that is hanging wall is going down. So definitely it should be a, what kind of fault it should be? It should be a normal fault. Yeah, correct. So it should be a normal fault. So remember that when we were talking about facets, so first condition should be there must be a normal fault present along the mountain front. Okay. Now what are these facets? So this is triangular feature that you are seeing here, this triangle, and some are polyhedral as well, because it's not common that every time you can see the perfect triangular kind of feature. So their shape varies from triangular to polyhedral, but definitely they will like will be distinguished from the other shape present in the area. And here due to this erosion these rivers are coming. So these are the drainage pattern that you can see. So this is the condition for facets to form, that first normal fault so first condition is normal fault has to be present there. Second, there should be a drainage flowing in adjacent manner, otherwise these triangular features won't be forming. Can you please put your mic on mute if you are not asking any question? Thank you. Okay, so first is has to be a normal fault. Second, drainage pattern should be present. So these are the two conditions. Now let's understand some key points related to the facets. So as I mentioned, they are triangular, their shape varies from triangular to polyhedral, and they are usually a remnant of the fault plane. Now why they are the remnant? Since this hanging wall is going down, that's why this block is downward, and this block, which was the part of the footwall, was is above than this hanging wall. So generally with erosion, my screen is not visible. Why? Is it visible now? Okay. Okay, so I was discussing what I forgot the track. Okay, so yeah, we were going through the key points related to the facets. So facets formed along the footwalls of active normal fault blocks display a variety of longitudinal profile form. So this is the same thing that I was mentioning, that they form along the footwall, because in this scenario footwall is above the surface or as the higher elevation as compared to the hanging wall. So that is why there are higher probability that erosion will happen on the footwall, because it is at the upper elevation, and they have a variation in gradient, shape, degree of soil cover, and presence or absence of a slope break at the fault trace. So it is the fault trace that I have marked, which you can say it is also a mountain front. So their slope could break at here only, or they may continue after the fault scarp as well, or fault trace. So tectonically active fronts display a prominent or large facet that generated by the recurring faulting phenomena, and less tectonically active fronts contain it should be fewer small facets. So whenever you see a size of facets very big, then you can say that they must have formed due to the high tectonic activity, or this they have a recurring faulting process is happening in that particular zone. And if you see very small area or small shape of this facets, then you can say that they are not very tectonically active. Reason being, whenever there will be a recurring process, so the erosion process will get lesser time to erode, and this tectonic process will create a more bigger facets due to the upliftment or due to the normal faulting. But if the faulting stops for a very long time, definitely erosion force will come into the picture and will erode the facets, and then they become smaller as compared to the time that they were generated. So I hope you understood that how the shape of the facets is related to the tectonic activity. So yeah, this is it from my end. If you have any further question, or if you want me to just recap, so yeah, I can do that, because we have still time left. So just to give you a brief about what we have discussed in this whole session, or in this week 11 problem solving session, is the first question that I have taken is that during the stream capture, the diversion of flow into a new channel may leave a dash along a ridge. So though we have discussed this question earlier as well when we were discussing about the wind gap. So if we will see the options that we have, so definitely terraces won't be an answer, because they are not playing any role in changing the river path. But yeah, wind gap could be a possibility, but fault scarp definitely not, because transform fault do or lateral fault does, but what they did, they just produce the channel offset or offset in the river path, but not they are able to migrate the river channel into a new channel. So definitely channel offset won't be the answer. So let's just to give a brief what we were discussed in wind gap. So but before going to the wind gap, let's understand what is the stream capture. So it has several phenomena as well, like river capture, river piracy, or stream piracy. So it is a geomorphical phenomena occurring when a stream is diverted from its own bed and flows instant down the bed of a neighboring stream. So, just to understand this stream capture process, let us see this figure, this first figure, where earlier the river flowing like this, almost straight path, not the straight path, obviously with meandering, but due to some activity or due to this stream capturing process, its path has got changed and now it is following this path. So, you can understand this complete phenomena is called as a stream capture, where river changes its original path to a new path or new course of flow. So, why it happens like, so there are three major reasons for this to be happen. First is the tectonic forces, which changes the slope of the land and stream is tipped out of its formal course. So, definitely like stream always follow a slope like from higher slope to a lower slope. So, whenever if due to some tectonical activity the slope has got changed, so in turn to that the path of the stream will also get changed. Second is the natural damming, which is like landslide or ice sheet, and the third one is the erosion, and this wind gap comes under this category, because as we discussed this particular figure previous as well. So, due to some activity, for example, this ridge has formed which was not present earlier in this first figure, and this the second figure is where the ridge has formed. Now, what river will do? River has to follow a slope or a regional slope of the area which is from higher to lower. So, it will cut that ridge, though it will take us several years, but it will continue to working on cutting this land mass or the rock mass or the ridge that has formed, and eventually a time has come when it will be successfully cut this ridge. So, the gap that we got or the space that we got, we called it as a wind gap, that was cutted by the river. And along with river also aeolian erosion is also happening, because at this height definitely river can't go and cut it. So, also this aeolian erosion is working into this system. So, yes, the answer for this first question would be wind gap. Now, moving to the second question, which is a very straightforward question, because here they are asking that a dash stream that develops later on, carving the softer rocks and flows at most right angle to the original slope of the land. So, here we have a 4 category: subsequent, consequent, antecedent and superimposed. So, it should be superimposed. No answer, not should be superimposed. There is a spelling mistake, it should be superimposed. So, here we discuss just what are consequent and subsequent streams and their features that I think is present on your lectures as well. So, just to recap. So, consequent stream are the stream that follows the regional slope of the rock, and subsequent streams are formed after the consequent streams, because they were not originally formed. They are the later formation, and here they cut the weak strata, and also they try to move perpendicular to the what they were asking, right angle to the original slope of the land. Moving to the third and fourth, we have antecedent and superimposed. So, under antecedent, this is the same thing that we have discussed under wind gap, because due to some tectonic activity this uplifted ridge kind of or uplifted feature has formed, but what river did, river just cut this ridge and follow its original path. So, this is how wind gap formed, and you can also relate it that there might be some question comes in your future that like what kind of stream produced the wind gap. So, you remember that it always be antecedent streams. Now, the fourth one category is the superimposed streams. So, these are the streams that form over horizontal beds that overlie fold or faulted rock with varying resistance. Now, having cut down through the horizontal beds, the stream retains its course and pattern as it proceeds to erode the underlying rocks. So, now this stream is not even eroding the surface feature or the uplifted feature, it is eroding the subsurface features as well, and here the subsurface features could be fold and the faulted rock. Now, question 3, I think we have discussed it. So, this is related to the mountain front sinuosity ratio. So, remember this particular value range, it will help you that to demarcate that when your S index or S or SMF index is coming in which category. So, accordingly you can mark that whether it is active, less active or inactive zone. So, this is an important topic, remember this and even an interesting one as well, that how the two factors or the two forces come and play together and what kind of geomorphical feature you can see and how you can quantify their activity. So, through this mountain front sinuosity index, we can actually quantify the role of each and every force, that is the erosional force and the tectonic force. So, this is a very interesting one. And related to the facet, yeah, we have already covered it. So, under facet I would say that remember these two main feature of the facet, that it forms like if there is a facet is forming, definitely normal fault would be present at the mountain front, okay, and here also erosion activity is playing into a picture, because due to this erosion these facet will form, and along this erosion the drainage pattern would be present over there, and with this, with the shape of this facet, again we can classify it whether the area is tectonically active or not. So, if it is a tectonically active, then you will be seeing the recurring faulting activity through which you will find a bigger facet, but if the area is not much tectonically active, then the size of or the shape of this facet would be comparatively less, because erosion force will have a more time to act on this facet and it will change its shape into a smaller one. So, yeah, this is what we have discussed. Yeah, so answer of this fourth question would be definitely facet. So, I think I am done. So, if you do not have any question, we can stop this session, and hope to see you in the because next week we have our last session. So, hope to see you in the last session, and all the best and have a good evening. Thank you all.